this other thing, which leads you to this other thing, and oh, by the way, it comes immediately back around to webbots say, that nukes got to go off and dump outside of such and so in North Carolina on this day, when in fact we never did state that. Now, and it's quite true, though, that the language I was expecting and the results of the impact from the derivatives is just still currently manifesting. Bear in mind things like the Western Texas crude contracts are at the core of some of these interest rate and commodity-based derivatives. So this
just like LIBOR was.
Correct. This changes the structure of the whole planet relative to that. And so there's very large moves underfoot. And Georgia's little clues here with Locke being in China as maybe a way of getting, in my view, of getting the Chinese to come back and buy our debt, which would be unsuccessful in any event, that's a very significant play. And at the same time, by the way, we've actually had more words pop out about the Russians being back involvement with Cuba. And so we're getting back to this, again, building tension language. Once we get into the choppiness here from November on, there will be enough clues, but it's going to be a rough winter. It's going to be, as George points out, a poor Christmas, a poor holiday season, risk of foreclosure, all of this, high tension levels, and falling job prospects. The unemployment issue is really, again, surfacing. It's going to get a lot worse this winter as everything but government starts settling back. And as George points out, you can't believe the government statistics, and yet they're constantly thrown at you through these headline numbers. So the propagandists, to a certain extent, are doing their job very well, but you can only take propaganda so far before it starts becoming a caricature of itself. And we're just about that point, and I believe that will really start and be effectively felt on November 5th. This is also a point at which we think that the language for around the dollar will start showing up, more of the words around the idea of repudiation or rejection by all. And so we should start seeing more countries that will refuse to accept it and so on. It's merely a matter of catching the wave of the process and seeing where it affects you. Now, for instance, I don't have any paper debt, so I'm not affected by this. But there were a lot of people that are messing around with the Forex and the Comex and so on that are very much affected by this.
Still, I've talked to people and they've said, well, I hope hyperinflation hits because then I can just pay off my house. But wait. At the top of the hour. We're going to break right now. Obviously, Steve wanted to jump in and let me know. We'll be right back, folks.
All right, we are back. Hour number 2 here on MilitiaRadio.com. This is the Militia Roundtable. Take it away, Bruce.
Okay, well, before I forget, both of you, just take a minute and tell us about your website. And Clif, why don't you start and let us know when your next report's going to be out?
I should have it out by December 15th, and it should just be there on a Buy Now button. We don't do subscriptions anymore, and you just purchase it. It'll be for $10, and it's halfpasthuman.com.
And okay. urbansurvival.com. I don't charge for that. I have a small newsletter, which is $40 a year. People tell me I'm crazy. I should be charging 10 times that. Frankly, I don't care. and I really don't. It's like, the website.
Also, all right, wait, George. Everybody also needs to go read George's site at urbansurvival.com /week.htm every day, because you're talking to a fellow there that I liken him to a modern-day Will Rogers. Very entertaining, insightful social commentary, as well as that terrible economic stuff that he makes understandable.
Well, that's very nice of you. Thank you. Gee, Clif is a genius. Unfortunately, as good a humorist as I try to be, and as good a computerist as Clif is, both of us have more or less taken the vow. We refer to it as the vow of poverty of time monks. We've just kind of gotten past the material stuff to the point of not caring. I mean, do I have a nice old shiny red car? Yeah, it's real sporty and everything else, but that's not where America's going. Where America's going, I call it the Mexification of America. If you can picture a highly advanced civilization losing half of its income, and what happens to society over that process.
Well, hey, George, yeah, that's a beautiful example, because all you guys have to do is to go and look up the troubled days in Cuba, because Cuba was abandoned by Russia when Russia's economy collapsed in quote, the end of the Cold War there, and Cuba suffered an 85%. The whole population lost 85% of its income overnight, and it caused huge social ramifications. And it's a good clue as to what we have yet to go through, and tons of lessons to learn.
Yeah, we definitely have. But before break, I got to bring us back just a little. What's your answer to those folks that say, hyperinflation's coming, no worry, I'll just pay off my house?
That's the traditional use of such periods, oddly enough, or rather practically enough. In previous periods of hyperinflation, going all the way back to the period of the collapse of Rome, what we might think of as the middle class and the upper level working class, it used that period of time to sell assets. It was called dishoarding, and usually their goal was to extricate themselves from debt, and it actually spawned some of the smaller fortunes around the world and some of the more famous wine country kind of acquisitions and this sort of thing, when people would get out of debt and establish a base for growth. So this time, though, I have reasons for suggesting that if you can pay it off suddenly like that, maybe it's to your benefit. I don't know if it would be tax-wise or ultimately financially. That's going to be on an individual personal level. In general, in the past, it has been used that way. Here's another opportunity. So, for instance, say that you owed, let's just pick a number, $100,000 on a piece of property, and you were able to buy gold coins now at, say, $1,070 or whatever it is, and they double in price. Well, you'd only have to buy 50 of them if you had that kind of wherewithal. But personally, I think as long as you can keep paying the mortgage and you're not at risk of being chucked on the street, you may want to put a lot of that money into other things like food, energy stores, that kind of thing. George may disagree, though.
It's curious. I thought I might disagree, but I don't. I bought property in East Texas that was very inexpensive. I still maintain a very, very small mortgage on a very small piece of property adjacent to the main property. And I also bought a tractor on credit, not because I needed to use credit. I didn't write a check for the darn things, but credit's one of those funny things. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so I try to keep a credit rating alive.
I would say that's true. I don't use it, and I have absolutely none. I couldn't get credit if I tried. So go ahead, George.
Yeah. I mean, and it matters, little. I think in the next couple of years, I think we're in a different kind of cycle now than we have ever been in historically, and for reasons that I don't know if they're beyond the scope of the program or not. The longer we go out looking at the data, the more reason we have not to make house payments and to buy hiking gear.
And we've got real issues here in the very short term. Most people's focus, let's face it, have been whittled from a long-term vision down to a short-term via the past few generations of instant gratification through electronic media and so on. So let's just look at it, say, 6 months out. If we're talking about a situation for the last 3 months of this year, we might see a drop in purchasing power of the dollar of some significance. We might see the disruption of derivatives and problems with the financial system beyond what we have at this point. If those start manifesting in November, then we will be looking in the first 3 months of next year at an exacerbation level of that will impact deliveries to grocery stores, shipments into the country, the cost of food, the cost of delivering energy. Now, bear in mind, we're also getting clues from the minions of the powers that be, our Congress critters, that they are, in fact, going to do things that are going to cause energy to go up. The whole fallout from the Copenhagen Treaty, right? The cap and trade and all of this other bogus crud that they're going to put together, which is basically another market to shift money elsewhere. But its ultimate or its immediate impact will be on the cost of energy for everyone. But it'll also have hidden costs in the sense that not only will your cost to heat your house go up, but also the cost of your food will go up, and especially anything relative to high energy production on food. So, insofar as hyperinflation goes, you may find yourself where the asset you want to have during a hyperinflationary period of time, silver or gold, is actually racing against the other aspects, the other commodities that are also worth stuff, which is the cost of food. So here's a real problem. In Weimar Republic in mid-20s, they had a situation of hyperinflation. This led ultimately to the rise of the Socialist Party and Hitler and all of that kind of stuff. But during the period of time of the hyperinflation, there was actually an issue where food costs relative to the French franc were going down because they were going up on a daily basis, hourly basis even, in the German mark. But of course, a fixed asset soon became something you could dispose of easily. So if we got to that level of hyperinflation, which bear in mind was a death of a currency kind of an issue as a result of a transition from an aristocratic feudal structure under the Kaiser. Bear in mind, Kaiser is just German for king. And they had a monarchy which managed things very badly, and it transitioned over to a social democracy that led to Hitler. Now, when that transition occurred, the currency that was backed by confidence in the old realm, and remember again, all paper currencies are just simply backed by confidence in spite of any other claim, unless you can actually lay it on the counter and get gold for it, it's backed by confidence. When that confidence shifted in the Weimar Republic, they would have the gold and silver going up rapidly, but so was the cost of bread. And so it became very difficult. But if under those circumstances we had that same thing occur here, say you owed $100,000, well, we may reach a point where, yeah, it's just real simple to pay off the mortgage because it's a fixed debt in terms of its numeric value. And, might as well do that if you had that extra silver coin kind of a deal, as opposed to swap the silver coin for other items of relative value. But those things should stay at a relative level. In other words, I would still expect, let's see, what's the cost of silver now? Say that silver cost $18 for an ounce. Then then you should be able to use yours ratio here and apply a ratio between the number of loaves of bread you can get for silver now, and that should still hold true even during hyperinflationary times when the cost of silver is $600. You just have to spend, $200 for a loaf of bread or however many it works out. Make sense? Did I explain that right, George?
Oh, yeah, I think you did very well. The other thing you might want to consider is investing in trading stock. And when I say investing in trading stock, I've slowly been acquiring here and there a little whiskey. Actually, thinking about collecting even a few things like cartons of cigarettes, because those are things that historically have gone up. And yeah, smoking's a terrible thing, but there are people who are addicted to cigarettes and will pay dearly for them. And the same thing is true with any alcoholic beverage. Alcoholic beverages seem to me to be kind of in the category with ammunition. Buy it, lay it down, and if you ever need it, it's great trading stock, just like, a block of 22 shells is great trading stock.
Or for that matter, chocolates and other things that make, that bring a special character, that kind of thing. Exactly, yeah.
And when however, there are some problems. Clif and I have probably talked more about toilet paper storage